Hello and welcome to the Paletteful Packs YouTube channel. My name is Alice and I have the September 2021 Paletteful Premiere Pack here in front of me, so let's go ahead and open it on up. Okay, I love the mustard. Like, I am so here for that. I see gouache. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. So the first thing in here is this. This is by Holbein, and this is their acrylic gouache. This is a set of 5 colors. I love this gouache. This gouache is one of my favorite things in the world. I use it all the time, and I am so excited to work with it for a Paletteful box. So these are the colors: carmine, lemon yellow, sky blue, jet black, and titanium white. And this is an acrylic gouache, which means it's an acrylic based paint that is not rewettable, but it has more of a velvety matte finish like a gouache does. So so excited to play with those. I cannot wait. So to go along with it, we have this Prismacolor kneaded eraser. These guys are amazing for picking up when you have your sketch, just kind of like lightly picking it up so that you still have a faint outline before you do watercolor, gouache, or paint on top of it. They're just really useful. You can make them into small little points and things like that. We also have a palette so that we can put our paints in it. Hooray. And then some brushes. Very important to have brushes when you've got paint. So these are the 2 brushes. This first one is by Robert Simmons. It is a number 5 round, and it's got a beautiful, look at that beautiful green handle. Oh, that makes me so happy. And the other brush in here is a Princeton Select flat wash in it's a 3/4 inch. And I think I've said this before, but I have used a lot of the Princeton Select brand and they're great. These are awesome for acrylics, and so they're going to be great for acrylic gouache as well. We also have a Derwent pencil. This is in B, so it's going to be decently soft, but not crazy soft. So this will be great for sketching out what we need to sketch, and then we can use that kneaded eraser to pick it up and lighten it before we go in with our paints. So that's going to be a wonderful combination. And then we have some surfaces. We have this cute little Legion Stonehenge cold press mini pad. I love these little mini guys. They're so cute. I love to stick them into my sketchbook. It's one of my favorite things to do. Like, I'll carry this around in the back of my sketchbook and then I'll use it to do little sketches and stick them in my sketchbook with other things. It's fun. So, and then we also have something larger down here. Ooh, hefty. Ooh, there's 3 of them. So this is by Crescent, and these are watercolor boards, 8 by 10. They're 100% rag with a lightly textured cold press surface. And it says they are easily portable and great for plein air use. I am so excited for this. I recently tried mounting my own watercolor paper on a board, and it seemed to go well, but I haven't actually painted on it yet. So I'm really excited to work with these. All right, so this is everything that you're going to get in this September 2021 Paletteful Premiere Pack. This might be my favorite pack so far. I am so excited to work with these. So let's go ahead and get painting. Okay, so I am going to set up my palette with the gouache paints that we have, the red, the yellow, and the blue up top, and then black and white down at the bottom, so that I have everything ready to go and mix. And then I'm going to take the little Stonehenge Aqua Cold Press, and I'm going to create some swatches of those colors. I'm going to use them more thick and undiluted over on the left side, and then I'm going to add water and blend them out and thin them out over on the right side, so you can kind of see how they work in more of a watercolor and thinned out way, but also in more of an acrylic kind of way. So they're very versatile. Then I went through and I mixed up some secondary colors from the primary colors so that I could see what the secondary colors were going to be. Whenever you're working with just primaries, I always recommend mixing up the secondary colors so that you can see what the general shade is when you mix everything together. Then I swatched the black, and then so that you can see how the white is opaque and how these can layer on top of each other without smudging, I went ahead and I used the white to layer on top in different opacities, with some more watered down and others not. And then I just tested the pencil. I decided to start with the little card and I did a small, very free form kind of painting on the card. And I really enjoyed this. This was a really fun little exercise to warm up. And basically, I just started by wetting the paper and putting on some aqua colors. And then I started blending on the paper and adding color on the paper as it was still wet so that it was all blending out and into one another, and started layering up on top of that to create a ocean scene. Because these are gouache paints, you can, like I said, use them kind of in a way that's similar to watercolor and get very similar effects to watercolor, where you can get like these really pretty bleeds and these really pretty washes. But then because it's an acrylic gouache, it's not re-wettable the same as a regular gouache would be or a watercolor would be. So you can layer on top of it. And because it's a thicker paint that can be thinned down, you can build up in more like thick brush strokes if you'd like, which I did to create some more texture on some of the peaks of the little waves, the little like white parts of the ocean. I added in some thicker paint there to really create some dimension and texture. Once that layer had dried, I went in and added some more colors, some more greens and some grays to add in more depth to the ocean. And then I did some washes over the sky to darken the sky a little bit. And it's really easy to build up on top of these. You can almost glaze, where you're adding like a watered down color on top, and that will help tint the color. There's just so many different ways to use this, and it's kind of like being able to use two supplies in one. I also decided to add a little rock to the corner of the painting. Just felt like I needed something that wasn't just an ocean. You know, there was no sun, there was no moon, it was just the water. And I thought maybe I should paint a rock. So I added in a little rock and some little sea spray. And I thought this was really cute. I really enjoy working on these small little cards, and it's a great way to warm up and get used to the supplies. What I like to do with these is I'll actually stick them in my sketchbook after. So once I was done with this, I stuck it in my sketchbook and did a little decorating and put in a Polaroid and stuff. So definitely recommend starting with a little experiment on the trading cards, and this is what mine came out to look like. So once I had done that, I decided to go in on the watercolor board, and I was so excited to use these. I loved it. I've already used the second one and I can't wait to use the third one. And I started out with wet on wet, and you can see here the beautiful watercolor like effects that you can create with this. I wet the whole watercolor board and then painted it with that darker purple color, and then dropped in all of these blues to create this kind of cool nebulaic background. And I decided to draw a ghost on top because it is spooky season, and in honor of spooky season I wanted to draw some spooky girls. So I thought it would be cool to draw a ghost because I could play around with keeping this watercolory background, and I could use some translucency because like it's a ghost, and I could also build up like in thicker areas. So I just thought it would be a good way to use these supplies. So I drew out my little sketch of the ghost with the pencil, which was perfect consistency for working on this paper. And then I went in with the gouache, and I started with the dress and just started by building that up. And I work a lot of kind of wet on wet, especially at the start. For example, I am working on some of the the top part of the dress and the skin, and I'm using a watered down light blue, and then I'm adding in a little bit more white, and that will blend into the watered down like paint that's already on there, and it will soften, and then I'll add a little bit more and a little bit more, and I'm just layering in lots of thin translucent layers because it won't lift up, so you can really just build up and up and up and up. Which is one of the beautiful things about this medium. So I was able to go in and add a lighter white layer to kind of create this slightly translucent see-through top part of her dress. And then I went in to detail the face. And this is where the more like thicker parts of the acrylic gouache come into play, where I start building up the details a little bit more. Then I'll kind of go in with more opaque colors and blend those in. And I wanted to add in a little bit more green to her skin tone because I planned on her, her whole figure being a blue kind of glowing figure because she is a ghost, but I wanted to create some variety within that. So I played around with adding more blues and greens and kind of decided that her skin was going to have more of a green tint and that would help separate it from the more blue of her dress. I also started to add in this glow around her because ghosts glow. I don't know if that's a fact, but in my world, that's a fact, I guess. Ghosts glow. And so I went with this teal color, light teal color, and then I used watered it down quite a bit and just pushed it like all the way around her. And then I really just like went in with just pure white and let it blend on the paper. You can see I'm really being loose and very free with this part. I spray it with some like water from a little spray bottle to really keep it loose and messy. I'm not too worried about it going over the edges because I don't mind her edges looking a little bit fuzzy. And that really helped create this beautiful kind of aura around her. After that, I went up and built in the hair a little bit more. I also realized that I made the hairline kind of low or like her forehead too small. So I had to fix that. And I wanted to add in some more highlights and some kind of reflection on her face from her own glow. Great thing because it's the opaque gouache, you can build it up and I can add that in really easily. You don't have to like work from light to dark or from dark to light. You can add light on top of dark or add dark on top of light. So I'm using the pointed brush, and this brush I was able to use the very tip of it to get lots of fine little details. And then you're also able to use it really well for blending, and because it's like such an absorbent brush, I found it really useful for getting like big blobs of wet liquid paint for when I'm doing these like blending loose kind of areas. But I did the majority of the piece with this specific brush, and it worked really well for a variety of different techniques. I also thought that her face should have a little bit of glow to it, so I added more of some green glow to like under her chin and continued to build up this overlay of the kind of mesh area on her dress. I felt like I really needed to build the glow up a lot because I really wanted that to have this very bright effect. Like I wanted it to be clear that she was a ghost and not just a blue person. I also played around with a couple different things. Like for the eyes, I thought that maybe I would have them glowing like without pupils. And so originally that's kind of what I was thinking when I started this. But I ended up changing my mind and throwing in the pupils because I thought it looked kind of weird. And I liked that a lot more. And I'm using some darker colors now to define the shadows of the hair. I did the flats of the hair earlier, then I started in with the shadows, and then I'm taking that lighter color and just adding the highlights. And then I sprayed the whole thing with a little bit of water just to soften everything up and blend it in even more bright white, light blue to brighten up that glow even more because she's glowing, she's shining, she's ready to be here. Now I wanted to add in some more final details to this. So I added in some kind of little lace detailing on her corset and on her sleeves. And I also went in and defined the corset a little bit more, added in some color variety and some texture, and went in and added some of that rim kind of highlight lighting to her dress as well. And I think it's definitely starting to take shape now. And you can really see the advantages of being able to use an acrylic gouache where I'm able to switch back and forth between glazing things to create subtle shading or change things subtly or quickly to building up opaque paint. I definitely recommend that you play around with a lot of different techniques when you're practicing with these. Try using wet on wet blending techniques like I did at the beginning of this, like you would with watercolor. Try using thicker paint and blending that into more thin wet paint like I did with the glow. That'll give you more of a concentration of paint at the center, and then it'll kind of just blend out. Try playing with adding in really thick paint. It's really nice to add in thick paint to highlights, especially because those are the things that you want to pull forward. So try playing around with thick paint in the highlights, and try playing around with glazing different colors or different shades on top of what you've already done to adjust things or add subtle color changes. I definitely find that mixing all these different techniques together is going to give you the best effect. You can also obviously use these just blending like normal paint into regular paint like you would with blending any regular acrylic. I would recommend blending in a similar way, but there's so many different techniques that you can use outside of that that I would really encourage you to experiment with, including those different techniques in your piece, because you would be shocked at how helpful and versatile all these different things can be. So I'm just finishing up adding some details on the face and just refining it. And I felt that the background wasn't dark enough, it wasn't popping enough. So I went in and did a layer of this dark blue, and you can see that you can still see that texture underneath, which is just, it's awesome. I love that it can do that. I added in some little spray speckly stars, and that is my ghosty girl. I hope you like her just as much as me, and if you're interested in getting your own Paletteful pack, then click the link in our description box. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye!